Hey everybody, today I am deep in Indianapolis in actually one of the neighborhoods that's extremely well known and extremely historic. It's actually, truthfully, one of my favorite places in the city of Indianapolis for a number of reasons. And people ask me a lot, well, where would you live in Indianapolis? And actually the list, I've got an extensive list and a lot of places that I would like to live or try living, and this is definitely one of them. So I'm on the old North Side. We're gonna get into this neighborhood a little bit and see what it has to offer, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time to the channel and you wanna know everything there is to know about living in a place like the Old North Side or just Indianapolis in general or any of the surrounding metro, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video each and every week. And we have people contacting us from all over the Indy metro and all over the country with questions about Indianapolis, all the suburbs, and neighborhoods specifically like this one, the Old North Side. So if you have questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll always have your back when it comes to making your move to the Indy metro. So again, today I'm in the Old North Side neighborhood of Indianapolis, and just kind of walking along here on one of the sidewalks on one of the north-south streets, major north-south streets that goes through it. But the Old North Side is one of those neighborhoods, and I'd say there's at least a handful of them, that if you were to say, what is the definition of living in the city of Indianapolis, or at least the city close to the downtown area, I would definitely say the Old North Side fits that. It's a historically significant neighborhood with a lot of historically significant architecture here, a lot of Victorian style homes, certainly turn of the century homes. We're talking homes that are over 100 years old, but also a mix of newer homes. Because around the turn of the century, when a lot of these homes had been around a little while, because people living in Indianapolis in the downtown area, or at least where Indianapolis, the biggest part of the population was, they started to move out to the north, and this is one of those first neighborhoods where people built some really nice homes, in fact, some mansions. But early 1900s, some of them started to fall apart, weren't taken care of very well, and the place was pretty run down once you got to kind of the mid 1900s or so. But in the 60s and beyond, a lot of people started to pay attention to this neighborhood and started to take better care of it, started rehabbing and preserving some of the homes in the area, but some of them didn't make it, of course. So when you come through this neighborhood, it is obviously extremely established, lots of old trees, big, huge sidewalks, so it's very pedestrian friendly, even though to the north, on the north side of the Old North Side is 16th Street. To the south, you actually have I-65 where it cuts through Indianapolis. And then over to the west, it's Pennsylvania Street, and over to the east, it's the O'Bannon Soccer Park. It's kind of the eastern border of the entire neighborhood. But running north-south through here, you get some pretty significant streets that are known through Indianapolis. And I'm actually gonna cross one of those right now. I'm gonna cross Alabama, but you have some of the state streets like Pennsylvania, Alabama, Delaware, even College Avenue, which is in a state, of course, but it does go up through this neighborhood. So the neighborhood's very well connected to the downtown area of Indianapolis proper, but it's also pretty easy to get to, for the most part, any place on the north side from here. And if you were to live in a place like this, as I said at the beginning of the video, it's a place that I would certainly consider and would love to try living in. There are a lot of different places in Indianapolis that I just really like a lot for a good number of different reasons. And I just like the fact that this one is so historically and architecturally significant. The sidewalks are so big, it's so beautiful, especially on a day like today, this beautiful fall day, where you just have all of these trees that are extremely mature and been around for decades. They're all around you, plenty of shade, and just a really nice looking neighborhood. Now I've jumped over to Delaware Street and walking down an enormously wide sidewalk here. I will say the Old North Side, certainly around it, you can have a few rough areas here and there for sure, but the Old North Side itself can have a couple of spots that might be just a little bit rough, and that's for the most part because the homes are just incredibly old. But you will see sprinkled in here and there homes that were maybe built around 2000 or 2010, or even today in 2020 or so, where they're obviously much newer if they're built in 2000, but 2020 they'd be brand new. This video is being made in 2020. But they all have the same spirit of architecture that you saw here when the original homes were built right around that turn of the century, well over 100 years ago. So plenty of character in a neighborhood like this, and honestly, quite a bit of walkability. It's probably still a decent walk to get downtown proper, like to Monument Circle and all that, although I know in the past I have done that. But it's a long walk, and especially if it's, you know, poor weather or something like that, you're probably not gonna walk 14, 15 blocks to get to a place, you know, like the circle itself, but you still could. But around this area, you'll see some places and neighborhoods that are really up and coming. Certainly just to the south of here, a neighborhood like Chatham Arch, which is part actually of Mass Ave in one of the cultural districts. That's easily within walking distance of here. Just north of here, you've got Fall Creek Place, which has some really cool shops and restaurants kind of sprinkled through. So that's all pretty much walking distance from here as well, although those things aren't technically in the Old North Side. The Old North Side is just surrounded by so much and so many things that are exceptionally cool. One of those other really cool things is that the President Benjamin Harrison actually lived in this neighborhood as well, and his home is one of the historical places you can visit and tour in this particular area. So really just has some unbelievably neat places that are tied to the history of Indianapolis. Another thing that makes this neighborhood really pretty cool as far as its walkability is concerned, because you can probably see there's some cars going past me here on Delaware Street. It's a relatively busy street, and you probably want to have a little bit of safety whenever you're walking or running or pushing a stroller or something like that. But the Monon Trail, which runs from essentially downtown Indianapolis all the way through North Indianapolis, through Carmel, through Westfield, and north of that. So miles and miles and miles on that trail, and you can connect yourself, of course, to those suburbs to the north, or just the north side of Indianapolis, but also everything that goes along the Monon Trail within Indianapolis. And there's a tremendous amount. So you could go a little bit north to Fall Creek Place. You could go a little bit south to Mass Ave from here, and all the different breweries and bars and shops and restaurants that it has to offer. All very, very close. You could also take the Monon north to a neighborhood like Broad Ripple, which actually isn't all that north of here and isn't a bad little bike ride. So I'm coming up here on 16th Street, and Broad Ripple would be up around 62nd Street or so. So, you know, close to 50 blocks, somewhere in there. Not exact, but close to that. So a pretty sizable walk, but, you know, certainly bikeable, definitely. But the Old North Side, very historic, such a cool looking neighborhood, and just extremely classic Indianapolis. One of my favorite for sure, and would be one of my choices for trying out and living for quite a while. It has an awful lot to offer. So if you have any questions at all about the Old North Side in Indianapolis, don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any questions about any of the suburbs or Indy in general, do the same. And until the next one, we'll see you later.